Sometimes you just gotta go Bardown.
Kirill, top titty 2x4 to end the game. That was nice.
Bardown Beauties.
That's the sexy part of the game, is it not? The plays and the goals and the...
Yeah, that's what you guys like. I mean, it is great.
And now, a new episode of Bardown Beauties with Jessi Pierce and Kirsten Krull.
At Jim Beam, they know the importance of tradition, like chanting, "Let's play hockey" prior to the start of each game, or playing the state of hockey anthem after a wild win. This season, raise one to your fan family with a bourbon that invites us all to come as friends and leave as family. Jim Beam Bourbon Whiskey, the official bourbon whiskey partner of the Minnesota Wild and XL Energy Center. Drink smart. Jim Beam Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. 40% alcohol by volume. Copyright 2021. James B. Beam Distilling Company, Incorporated, Claremont, Kentucky.
Hello, everybody. What's up? Bardown Beauties, episode 254. I'm Jessi Pierce. She's Kirsten Krull. Another week, another disappointing Monday of wild hockey. I feel like there's been a lot of these. Maybe not, because I guess there's been some elation. And it shouldn't be that disappointing, except it was the worst game I've seen the Minnesota Wild play this season in Ottawa. 6-0 drubbing. It's not even the score. It was 54 shots allowed by your Minnesota Wild, Kirsten. Let's just start there. Like, is that the worst game you've seen from them all year?
There's a lot to unpack from that one. Yeah, I would probably say maybe it's recency bias, but I would definitely say that was the nastiest game in the worst way possible we've seen from the Wild this season. And we're not even getting into, maybe this is a tease for later. The Ryan Hartman play that's going to lead to a suspension. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's going to. It's a matter of how many. No, just a terrible game all around. You heard the players after the game, like Zuccarello, Brock Faber. Embarrassing, unacceptable, the words circulating around the locker room after that. And another thing, too, I always forget about Brady Tkachuk, but then whenever the Wild play the Senators and Brady Tkachuk is there, I remember him and I realize how much...
Like, you forget he's a thing?
I forget he's a thing, kind of like Pat Maroon. And it just, it's not, he's a player I would love if he played on my team, but since he's like an aggravator for the opponent, I hate him.
Yeah, no, he knows how to get under their skin.
He gets under my skin and I'm not on the ice.
Which, again, is so funny to me, because Tkachuk looks like somebody that would rub everybody the wrong way, right? Kind of pompous. And Brady Tkachuk just kind of looks like hi, I'm Brady. It looks like kind of like a cartoon character. But he's a little bit of an instigator, I suppose. Yeah, I don't want to... Very punchable face. I don't want to obviously harp too much on that game, but I only want to do so because of the terribleness up and down. It was an 80-second post-game interview with John Hines. That's how frustrated he was. And let's get into the Ryan Hartman situation now. For those of you who missed it on Saturday, Ryan Hartman, while the Minnesota Wild were down, I think only 3-0 at this point in time, if I recall correctly. Hartman, as he tends to do, which this year he's been better. We've given him that grace. We've said, wow, look at Ryan Hartman grow and have a little less of that fury beneath him that leads to stupid freaking penalties. Well, this is as stupid as it gets. Down 3 rip in the Minnesota Wild defensive zone. Hartman doesn't decide to go for the puck at all during the drop of the faceoff. He decides just to go straight for Tim Stützle's head and just buries his face into the ice. Not only is it very evident that that is a penalty, it is going to be a match penalty. They, of course, review it, decide it is in fact a match penalty, so you have a nice long power play, which Ottawa goes on to score 3 power play goals during that Hartman penalty. Fantastic. Ryan Hartman will get a Zoom hearing tomorrow from Boston rather than going to New York for an in-person hearing with the player safety department. It's a 6-game minimum, maybe, right? According to everybody that's discussed it, there's no question, because Ryan Hartman is a repeat offender. He's had suspensions, he's had fines. People know him as such type of player, and Kirsten, that hurts because it's not necessarily that you're removing a Ryan Hartman from the lineup who has been whatever. you're down another player with salary cap constraints because you have Kirill Kaprizov out. You do get, you're going to be very excited about this news, it sounds like, Jonas Brodin and Marcus Johansson are both on the ice for Minnesota Wild practice in Boston today on Monday, which is inevitable that they likely return when you're listening to this against the Bruins Tuesday. But Hartman hurt the team up, down, sideways, underneath in every possible way with that move.
This is my take on it. Initial thought, because we had been sitting here at least like two of our most recent episodes. And we have said Ryan Hartman, he's better controlled his emotions this season, spent less time in the box. All this goes to show is that anytime I think a man is different, anytime I think that they've changed, they go on to prove they are not different and they haven't changed. My intuition, say what you will, but whatever. Ryan Hartman hasn't changed, I don't think, because when you look back at that play in the face-off, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And then Stützle, you see the blood dripping down his face afterwards. Like, that is the definition. Like, he didn't even try to hide it. It's just bad. It is bad. Very deserving of a penalty. I agree with whatever the decision's going to be. But yes, more importantly, like, he hurt the team. He hurt the team, and this is coming at a point in the season where you're already taking a blow. You're without Kirill Kaprizov for minimum 4 weeks, and you're getting towards the point now where the Wild, they really need to pick things up, get moving, make a push late in the season to get into the playoffs, to make a solidifying spot, and then you do this. And I think the earliest he can be back, if it's the 6 games, is February 28th, if I'm correct.
Yes, given the 4 nations in between, because it's a game suspension. So you have to take all that into account. And that's what's extra ridiculous. Like, why are you so obvious with this? Like, what? There was nothing that warranted that play at that moment in the game. Again, yes, you're down. Yes, you're frustrated because you're playing poorly. But Tim Stützle hurting him right off the drop. Wait, light him up in the corner if you want or whatever. But even then, I feel like Ryan Hartman wasn't gunning for a hockey play, right? Wasn't gunning for even a smart play. Like, he just saw red, which, yes, it's part of his history, and it's been kind of the up and down of Ryan Hartman as a player, right? You want him to focus on the skill set that he has. You need him to. And we'll bring this up. Does that maybe warrant a conversation for Bill Guerin come the offseason when you're looking at different moves? I know some folks have asked that. That's been rumbled amongst the media. We'll get into that with Q's and the Buttes in the second segment there, Kirsten. But yeah,
wait, sorry to interrupt.
Go.
One other really quick question before I move on from talking about Ryan Hartman. What is the benefit of actually attending an in-person hearing? Because I know he opted for Zoom. What's the benefit of going in person?
That's a really good question. Let's just see what the old Google says. I've always thought it was because you obviously are showing more probably remorse, and because you're there and you can argue your case more, right? Like, you're taking it seriously is how I've always felt, especially when they're in Boston and you're not that far from New York. But let's see.
Or he knows he doesn't have a chance to lessen it, so why waste his time?
And that's probably also very true. Attending court hearings in person. Oh, this is court hearings. But as far as court hearings go, there's the direct interaction and communication between participants, fostering a better understanding and collaboration. I have to imagine that's the same.
There's no understanding. There's no understanding.
Oh, here, we got one. All right. What considers supplemental discipline? Is what you call it. Injury takes into account. What is the difference between a telephone hearing and an in-person hearing? If the Department of Player Safety determines that any supplemental discipline from an infraction will result in 5 games or less, or a fine of more than $5,000, then the hearing is conducted by phone. If the infraction might require a suspension of 6 games or more, which is why they requested the in-person hearing, I'm thinking, the offending player is offered the opportunity to an in-person hearing. In this case, the player remains suspended until the hearing takes place. If the player waives his right to an in-person hearing, the hearing will be conducted by phone. And again, a reminder of the repeat offender status that Ryan Hartman is under. Player is considered a repeat offender for 18 months following his most recent incident that resulted in a suspension. His status as a repeat offender in this category is used to determine the amount of salary forfeited should he receive another suspension. So it's going to be an expensive situation for Ryan Hartman.
Can I also just make us a quick side comment?
Of course.
I mean, granted, I make way less money than Ryan Hartman, but continuing to do this, knowing how big of a dent it's taking out of your paycheck, that would stress, especially after just having had a baby, that would stress me out. Like, you're basically just giving money away just because.
If I were his wife, I'd be like, no, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Like,
oh, that stresses me out thinking of the financial aspect.
Yeah.
NHL players aren't making NBA salaries, so I know Anthony Edwards is getting fined left and right for, what is it, cursing, speaking out in post-game interviews in the NBA.
It's going to be $1 million. He'll be $1 million in debt, yeah.
Yes. Ryan Hartman's not making Anthony Edwards' salary. Like, there's a big difference, and so that just stresses me out. That's a side comment, totally unrelated, though.
Fair.
Not totally unrelated.
No. He's making $4 a year, right? He's under contract for the next 3. Again, I want to discuss potential movement of players in the second half. We got a lot of cues with the Beauties on that. But yeah, that's fair. It's just stupid. It was just stupid. Like, Hartsey, come on now. Like, again, if I'm the team, I'm pissed because you didn't help us at all.
You heard us.
But I did say, Kirsten, Jonas Brodin back on the ice. Now, last week you had mentioned that he is the best part of the defense, which makes sense. The defense struggled. Brodin hasn't been back. What do you think he is going to be able to make an immediate impact? He's missed, I believe, 12 games. Let's double check that, though, just to be completely sure. But talk amongst yourself. He's missed a couple games. What do you think his impact is going to be? He's missed a handful. He's missed several, which is hilarious. I used to think several legit meant 7. I've told you that before, right?
Yeah, several just means like
more than
3 or 4, doesn't it?
I think it's like more than 3.
No, a few is 3.
A few is 3. Several is more than 4.
I think so. I always thought several also meant 7. It
would make 7. 7, like at least 7 is what I thought it was.
Sense. Nothing in the English language makes sense. Everything's a contradiction.
It really is. But yeah, Broad's back in Boston. How about that alliteration? We love it.
Broad's back in Boston. Broad's buckles down in Boston. Broad's bodacious bounce back in Boston.
Bodacious was so unnecessary.
I'm thinking of things with B.
Broad's back checks to Boston. That's not bad.
Broad's bounces to Boston. I could spend a lot more time
I know you
this.
could.
It's hard to imagine a world where Jonas Brodin comes back and doesn't make some sort of immediate, noticeable impact for the Wild Blue Line, especially one that has struggled since he's been out. So yes, I do expect him to make an impact, but also I do get nervous. I hope with the time that he spent, it rested him. But granted, again, we say this every year, like, no, is a hockey player truly fully healthy at this point in the season? Like, we know how many injuries they battle through year round. So, I mean, he's probably not fully healthy, but I think a Jonas Brodin at, I'm just going to say 70%, we're going to hope, is better than no Jonas Brodin.
I mean, you're also getting a Marcus Johansson back, which in light of the Ryan Hartman situation could be beneficial, I suppose, as well.
Yeah, it could be.
I mean, can't hurt, I guess. Again, not confirmed that they will be back in the lineup Tuesday against the Bruins, but it is trending that way. I'm sure more will come out post-practice after we're done recording this, naturally. So
Probably.
for now,
that tends to be the way it happens.
You know what's going to be, this is what John Hines will say post-practice today. Yeah, we'll talk to the guys, we'll talk to the doctors, we'll evaluate, and we'll know a little bit more tomorrow. That's almost verbatim. That's all I've heard.
You've done this once or twice.
And let's touch on it. We did do a breaking news release last week, and it's kind of old news by now, but Kirill Kaprizov undergoing surgery on Friday. Sounds like everything went well on the lower body injury. Out a minimum of 4 weeks. I would not expect to see him until like week 6 of that. Again, this break coming at a nice time. Do you think he's going to be able to enjoy a vacation at this point?
I feel that man never rests. Like, he also seems like a man who sleeps with one eye open. Like I'm so serious. Like, I just don't think he ever takes a break.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So, I mean, I can't imagine a world he's sitting on his couch playing video games. He doesn't seem like a gamer. Yeah, I don't know. He's probably like They're probably telling him, obviously, to take it easy and rest. He's probably just found a smaller tire to roll around.
I could see him going to like the Caribbean with Zuki in the fam. Maybe Flower. Definitely him and Zuki, though.
Yeah, Krill's never had the opportunity to go on a trip during a break because he's always been at the All-Star game.
Yeah, exactly. So, given to him. Maybe. Unfortunate.
Can Kirill get cornrows? If he does go on a tropical vacay, can he get cornrows?
You know, actually, I can picture that. And maybe it's just because I'm inputting his face on like Duhaim's face, or
I could just see him like doing it and just giggling.
I need to see this.
I do too.
His hair's gotten super long last we saw him. It is possible.
Nice little tan for Kirill. Cornrows. He'll come back. New man.
I guess. Do you think this injury hurts at all the extension conversation? I joked, and I want to emphasize the word joked on Judd's hockey show last week that, who wants to sign him? He's hurt. Nobody wants to sign him anyway. There should be no extension talks. Kidding, of course.
Would work in our favor.
I know, right? Like, it does make you wonder, like, kind of damaged goods. Because I hate thinking it, but I thought it after we recorded our episode. And as I was leaving the rink last week, Marian Gaborik dealt with groin issues his entire career here. And,
Okay, also, this just memory unlocked from our live show. One of the fans in attendance came up to me when we were taking a break in between segments, and he asked me, and I literally had to sit back and think about this for a hot minute. Like, it was a really good question, hypothetical question, but just think about it. Maybe we'll marinate on it, if you will. The question proposed was, next season, if you're getting the indication Kirill is not going to re-sign in Minnesota, like not a chance, what do? By the trade deadline, do you trade Kirill and get a big haul back? Or if you're in a spot for the playoffs and you are a legit Stanley Cup contender, do you keep him even though he's going to walk at the end of the season just to try to win the Stanley Cup?
So this question comes in lieu of if there is no extension signed by July 1. So you're heading into the season with him not having his extension signed. So he's playing out the final year before free agency, correct?
Yes, and you have the feeling he's going to walk. But so do you either trade him by the deadline and get something of high value in return for him, but you're also a Stanley Cup contender? Do you keep him for the playoff push and try to win a Stanley Cup?
Try to win a Stanley Cup, I think. But also I can see that really bothering Guerin. Not to mention, we would have to ask him every day if conversations have been had with Kaprizov in his camp. But I mean, I think there is something for Bill Guerin that we want guys that want to be here. We don't want guys that don't want to be here. And I think it would be a huge loss if Guerin doesn't get that extension done by July 1. So if he doesn't get that signed in this offseason, you have a huge problem heading into the year. Not even just with Kirill, but with the team chemistry as a whole, kind of what you do. And then that also would be, what does Bill Guerin do with the salary cap, with the offseason plays? I mean, I think we've always talked about, you get Kirill extended, you sign him to 15 a year for 8 years, whatever that looks like, right? But then you build around him. Well, if all of a sudden you don't have Kirill signed, what are you building around? Are you building around the X, the Boldies, the Rossies, another guy that we need to talk about in Q's at the Beauties? I mean, that would impact so much. At the end, though, I think you go for the cup. He's there. He's under contract for a year. You go for the cup.
So that's your final answer.
Yes.
I kind of lean, if there's no, if you're confident he's walking at the end.
Right.
Depending what the market is, I lean maybe more towards trading him by the deadline.
But you could pull the Fiala, trade him at the end of the season, and reap the benefits then.
But you're already in the playoff. Like, you're in the playoff and making a push. Like, you're a legitimate contender.
Right, but he'd be under contract.
That's a mind-boggling question, but I think I lean a little more towards trading.
He'd be under contract till June 31st. You'd won a Stanley Cup by then. And then you could be like, okay, who wants Kirill?
Okay, stop getting a little too this hypothetical question that you are taking way too too many details. Like I'm telling you the question that was presented. You had to pick an answer and you went with the cup. And I'm saying more you trade him by the deadline.
Yeah, I went with the cup. That's a good
I'm happy.
Talk amongst yourself in the
I'm happy we could come to a clean consensus.
Yeah. Yeah. And then trade him after you win the cup. It worked.
After probably the market's wiped clean. Okay.
Yeah. Now you see some, like, can we talk about trade deadline, for instance? For the record, trade deadline is March 7th. I would like to be very clear about that, but it appears that Four Nations has turned it into a 2-day trade deadline. You've got one on March 7th, and then you have the one that happens before Four Nations. My goodness, we talked about the Mikko Rantanen trade and the Necas trade last week. Now you got JT Miller out. You've got 3 Petterssons living their lives in Vancouver, which is just absurd. I love it, because there's like so much random drama going on. Mikhail Granlund, our boy, over to Dallas from San Jose. I mean, it's just kind of, it's very funny. Nothing will compare to the Luka trade that also happened in the NBA, which was, I tried to equate that to the NHL, and it sounds like it's very much like Gretzky to LA, but even crazier. But yeah, I
think my favorite piece of lore from this first NHL trade deadline is the Rangers having traded JT Miller away, or whatever that situation was, traded him away Vancouver when he was entering his prime. As JT Miller is exiting his prime, the Rangers reacquire him.
And he has a 3-game point streak because it's just got 2,500 days in between or something like that, I believe I saw, because it's from like the times that he played with the Rangers.
That's my favorite piece of lore so far. There's more.
I mean, in my conversations with JT Miller, it's hard to get an assessment on him, but I could also understand the narrative that maybe he's a little prickly in general. So, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. But yeah, like Vancouver's kind of a hot mess. New York's a hot mess. Like,
New York
wild.
Is so messy.
So messy. They're just going to be dumping everybody. Just pew, pew, pew.
Our boy Scotty Perunovich going from St. Louis to now the New York Islanders. Minnesota boy, Hobie Baker winner.
Hobie Baker, don't forget, Hobie Baker winner. Most importantly, Scott Perunovich, Hibby native. Kind of along the similar lines, salary cap increase, Kirsten. So we got some big jumps coming up in the next 3 years as agreed upon by the NHL and the NHLPA. An increase of $7.5 million next season, $8.5 million the season after, $9.5 million the third year, which is 27-28, which brings you to $83.9 million, or excuse me, that's the lower limit, $113.5 million to spend. Do we have concerns that Bill Guerin pulls like a Jessi and just goes shopping and goes crazy? Or do you think he can be more responsible than Jessi with his money?
I'm scared we're going to lock ourselves into a mess of no trade clauses, no moves, locking guys down. I'm scared.
Understandable. To give us a little reference for where the Minnesota Wild are at. So next season in 25-26, you've got Kirill Kaprizov locked in. You've got Matt Boldy locked in. Now, Matt Boldy has no protection. I would like to make that clear. You've got a no move for Kaprizov, and then obviously he's a free agent 26-27. Boldy, no protection, but he's locked in until 28-29, and then in that year, a no trade kicks in. Then you've got Joel Erikssonek at 5.25 for next season. He also has no move. Matt Zuccarello, no move with 4.125. Marcus Foligno at 4 with a no move. Ryan Hartman has a no trade starting next year at $4 million. Yakov Trenin, that brilliant frickin' signing, 3.5. He's got no protection. Thank God for that. Freddie Gaudreau locked in with protection, 2.1. Marcus Johansson becomes a free agent this year. Murad Husnudinov is a restricted free agent next year. Liam Ogren is making league minimum on his entry-level contract. Then you've got Marco Rossi as a restricted free agent next season. Jakub Lauko is a restricted free agent next season on the defensive end. Jared Spurgeon locked in, no move, 7.57. Then you've got Jonas Brodin, who has no protection at $6 million. Jake Middleton, 4.35, no protection. Zach Bogosian, 1.25, no protection. John Merrill is an unrestricted free agent. Declan Chisholm, restricted. Brock Faber, no protection at 8.5. David Juracek, league min. And then Travis Dermott becomes a free agent. And your goalies, Philip Gustafson, no move, 3.75. Fleury, restricted or unrestricted free agent. And Jesper, entry level. Whew. How's it make you feel? It's a lot. Does it make you feel that Jonas Brodin has no protection?
Pending how he continues to get injured, I'm not worried.
I mean, he's
not a guy you're just going to get rid of unless the injuries continue to pile up. That's the only thing that worries me.
That's fair. He's under contract until 27-28, FYI, at 6, which reasonable. And again, Boldy at 7, with no protection until 27-28.
I mean, Brock also has no protection, but we are not getting rid of him, nor is he wanting to leave.
At 8.5, you're not moving that. Like I feel like that was your protection. Like, we like you enough that we're going to give you this, and that's good. Zach Bogosian would be interesting. I think they love Midzi, and I think Midzi's asserted himself for that price too. I think is pretty fair. Yeah, I don't know. We'll talk about some reckless speculation of trades coming up in our queues with the Beauties. So let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. Your nostalgic SotaStick favorites are back, and they are in stock now at SotaStick.com. From the Met Center colored seats, my personal favorite tee, to the getting blown out the Metrodome door, rep the Minnesota sports timeless vibes with a SotaStick hat, hoodie, tee, whatever suits you and their nostalgic vibes. SotaStick has all the best gear in the game. Don't forget to smash Bardown Beauties at checkout for 15% off all your purchases. Again, that's at SotaStick.com. We're back. Got some great cues with the Beauties this week, some fun ones, as well as some pretty thought out that'll get the brain buzzing, much like your Kirill Kaprizov one did in the first segment. Let's start off with something fun. This one comes to us from Ethrika, who wants to know, are your New Year's resolutions still alive? We are now a month removed from the start of 2025. Did you make a resolution, Kirsten?
I don't feel like I necessarily make like resolutions. Like I have like more like goals. So, okay. I love this question because I am obsessed with the new year. I'm obsessed with goals. I'm a very goal oriented, like achievement based person. That is who I am. And so I create like goals, and then I create mind maps, and then like weekly like tasks that I can do to accomplish all of those. So I go into the new year with like tangible things I want to accomplish for like a long-term goal. So like for January, I did dry January and I crushed it. Not one sip of alcohol, still haven't. And then no fast food. And I consistently have gone to the gym at least 3 times a week and have done workout classes every single week. So yes, I'm still doing good. Don't necessarily make like resolutions, but short-term, long-term goals. I'm on track, and I'm very, very proud of myself.
That is good. Are you a vision board girly? You strike me as a potential vision board girly.
Yes, I am. But this year I did something different as opposed to like a vision board with like pictures on it. I did more of like an affirmation based board next to my mirror in my room. So like it has a bunch of like quotes or like inspirational things that I liked on it. And it's one of the first things I see every single morning. And I feel that's been more impactful for me than just having like pictures on a board.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. How about you?
My resolution was for the Wild to win the cup, so it's their fault that they're failing. No, I'm just kidding. I am the same. I don't really make resolutions. Like, I think when we were out New Year's Eve, we were put on the spot to like, oh, what's your resolution? I was like, I don't have one, because I always like to be growing throughout the course of the year. It's not like just a 1-year thing. I think that's why maybe people struggle with it, is like, oh, you put this pressure on you for this moment, and it's like, it's hard. Like, I'm still working out, still eating decent.
Yeah, you've been crushing the gym too.
Yeah, today was not a good day, though.
I mean, you showed up,
I
though.
wasn't. I showed up. That was hard. I was not feeling it at all. I was like, I have zero desire to be, especially when I saw there was snow outside and I had to like trudge in the car. But
yeah, North Metro got hit with more snow. We just got a dusting down here.
Oh, did you? Yeah, we got amount. Like I had to brush my car off.
We
Couldn't wear
literally
my
got like a
slippers.
dusting. Like I shoveled my little driveway this morning when there was like that much snow just because I didn't want it to turn to ice.
Fair.
Because my hand
Smart.
is finally now recovering. So my hand model career is done because I have scars, but it's healed.
Mine ended years ago because of scars as well. Don't worry. And they're just hideous.
We're in this
but
together.
That's fine.
But yeah, showing up is 50% of the battle. You did that.
True. Fair. Thank you for that
Yeah.
encouragement. I appreciate you.
Because otherwise you would have just been at home. So you've already... Showing up is an accomplishment. You crushed it.
Thank you.
Right.
All right.
All
What's the
right, next question coming from our good friend, reliable every time we do this too, just coming in with the questions. Derek Felska with Jesper Wallstedt giving up 7 goals on Saturday to Springfield. Should the Wild be worried about his development in Iowa?
It's been a tough year for Jesper. Now, Jesper had an injury too that he was coming back from. Just kind of a big mental roadblock, it seems, for him. I wouldn't say it's necessarily worried about his development in Iowa. I would honestly focus on kind of the mental obstacles. I think he's getting so much into his own head that it's not allowing him to perform to the level that he can. He kind of addressed that on his last call up here, saying this has been a really hard year. So I think give him that grace, give him the time. I think it's just for him a big mental obstacle, which is concerning. I've expressed that, right? Like a goalie that's so in their own head, like when they're on, but when they are off, they are so off. So you got to figure out a way that works best for him to work through that, because you're going to have your off nights here in the National Hockey. I mean, Philip Gustafsson stopped 46 shots. That loss on Saturday was not on Gus. That was on everybody else in front of him. But you're still going to allow 6. Like it was just sloppy slop. So I'm not concerned necessarily that he's regressing in Iowa, but I think it's for him a mental switch that needs to maybe be made, or something additional that needs to be worked on. That's just my perception of it. And I think he's a guy that's willing to do that, which is always good. I think that's growth in the hockey league as a whole, but that's my take. What do you think?
I mean, I go off of what you said. I think you said it perfectly. And maybe not so much the mental aspect, but like you look at Philip Gustafsson and like his ups and downs. He's had some low seasons. Then he's had seasons like the start of this year when he was Vezina contention talk. So I don't know. There's definitely ups and downs for goalies, but I agree the mental aspect is huge.
Right. This one comes to us from Hockey Guy 33 in Minnesota. It's actually 2 different questions, so I will ask both of them to you first, Kirsten. His first question: what is the chance of Billy dealing Marco Rossi at deadline for another top 6 forward, as we won't be able to accumulate any cap space? Perhaps a Pittsburgh trade for 87, which is Sidney Crosby. Any gossip around the Danielia Yurov decision with the way Flowers playing? Will he be a playoff starter? So there's a whole bunch of questions within that first question, which we love the enthusiasm on it. Let's talk about Marco Rossi. And the reason for the record that they're not able to accumulate cap space is because, well, now they moved Kirill on LTIR. So when you're on LTIR, you can't accumulate the space that you need. So you're eating the $9 million, but it allows them to make a recall. It's a lot of things that I couldn't quite understand. Even when I was trying to ask Bill Guerin about it last week, I was like, I don't really know this. So here's this. Let me know if I should talk to Matt Sells. And he's like, talk to Matt Sells. And I was like, I will do that. But would you trade Marco Rossi at deadline for another top 6 forward?
No, I absolutely wouldn't. Like, sure, maybe in the short term, yeah, you would get some pieces back. But again, like, guys, we're looking at short term. Like, I want people to think more long term. Like, you would regret heavily giving up Marco Rossi. So no, like, where I stand. I love Marco Rossi. He's been having a hell of a season. I always go back to he did everything asked and more. I understand you can get pieces back for him, and I understand he is one of the very few players that aren't locked down that you can move that are of value. I get all that. It would be so dumb to do. Like, it would be so dumb. So no. And also, Sidney Crosby's not going anywhere. Like, he's made it very clear he wants to be in Pittsburgh.
What was that? I think I saw a note where it's like, this man has worn the same jockstrap for 15 years. He's not leaving the Pittsburgh Penguins.
No.
It's a fun thought, though, I suppose. I totally get that.
I mean, I understand too, but yeah, no, I think Sydney. Why was I just gonna call him by his first name? Just call him Sydney.
Yeah, we call him Sid.
Yeah, but
fine.
it didn't even come out Sid. It came out Sydney.
Sydney is weird.
It felt
I don't
so
like
weird.
it.
I think Sid has made it very clear he doesn't want to go, and the organization has made it clear no. So, yeah. That's my first half on all of that.
Yeah. What about the year of decision? I believe it's almost locked in that he is coming here, correct?
Yeah, I think that started to pick up momentum when he turned down, which was which was expected. It wasn't a surprise that he turned down a new KHL contract. So, yes, it's just a matter of when.
And how about Marc-Andre Fleury? God, I loved watching the Montreal. Love for him because, again, just an incredible human with an incredible family. Deserves all the flowers, all the good things. Do you think he will be the playoff starter the way that he's performed?
My gut says no. My gut says no. I think it's Gus.
I'd agree. And Gus has picked up his momentum the past 2 games. Again, that Ottawa game, not an indication of his, but I would agree. I think they could, of course, look at a tandem situation rolling in, maybe a better tandem situation than the one that Dean Evson unveiled. But
God, I'm getting PTSD from that whole
that was tough
Fleury Talbot situation. Oh my goodness.
I mean, in that situation, you went out and signed Marc-Andre Fleury for a reason, right? Like, I think that's what people misunderstood is like, well, they signed him to sit on the bench. Like, absolutely not. Like, and that's where Fleury will have that upper hand. He's got the playoff experience, right? He's got the cup experience. So
true, but his playoff and cup experience didn't help us last go around. I say respectfully, like it really didn't.
Well, nobody helped.
I mean, yeah, there is that as well, but I'm just saying it's a matter of fact. Sure. Love the man, but it really
Yeah, you're right. Part 2 of Hockey Guy 33 Minnesota's questions. Thoughts on an offer sheet to Matty Nyes if Toronto can't afford him? Guessing they can now with the cap increases. But there you go with questions. Have a great week, ladies. Hockey and Labrador Retrievers can't live without them. So thank you, Hockey Guy.
I agree. Labs are the best. And yeah, hockey and labs, they just go together.
Love it.
We can't afford Matthew Nyes either. We also can't afford him. And also, I don't know, when I look at like the future of the Toronto Maple Leafs and like when they get past whatever they are right now and get to like eventually I don't know. I feel like it's dramatic to say their eventual rebuild. I just see Matthew Nyes as a definite part of their future. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Especially if they don't want Mitch Marner to come back, right? Because
I think Mitch Marner's the first domino to go.
Yeah, I think that's a very active discussion they're having. So it's like Matthew Nyes would be that next piece of that thing. I would love to have him here in Minnesota.
Same.
He was a Gopher, I don't know if you knew that.
Oh my gosh. He was also, you know what? We're not.
I'm just saying he's a University of Minnesota Gophers. Go Gophs.
Go Gophs.
Rock. Next question to you.
Okay. You just completely got me off. All right. Would it be better to have Kaprizov out for the rest of the season and back for the playoffs to make a trade?
You're not supposed to answer it. I'm supposed to answer it.
Yeah, I know, but I'm thinking about
percolating. The rest of I think I don't know where you position yourself if you don't have Kirill Kaprizov before the regular season ends. For reference, right now, as it sits, Monday, 11-14, your Minnesota Wild are 5th in the West with 66 points, trailing Vegas and Edmonton by 2 points, Dallas by 3, and the Jets by a lot. 11 points is actually what it is. Within the division, your Minnesota Wild are 3rd behind Dallas and Winnipeg. They have a 2-point lead on Colorado, and St. Louis is down at 52 points. So it's a slim chance that you don't make the playoffs, but it could. I mean, honestly, crazier things have happened, I think. So you need Kaprizov back by the final week of the regular season. That's what I would like to see. And I did ask Bill Guerin directly if the Kaprizov situation affects the way he approaches the deadline. And it was the most thoughtful response. Like, he actually was like, like, wow, Jessi, you asked me something really smart. And I was like,
You don't
yeah.
tend to do that with Bill.
I don't evoke that from Bill very often, but it was nice because there were no other reporters there except my friend Dylan. And I was like, well, we need to ask things. This is our show now. This is us. This is all us, which I love. But he said it could. It certainly could. Again, the money has to work. And right now, as they start to get everybody healthy, if you've got Brodin back, if you've got Johansson back, that's awesome. I don't know how suspensions work against the cap with the Hartman situation, I guess.
He has to stay on the active roster.
Active roster,
so
yeah.
It's still taking up the same amount of cap space.
Right. So if you have everybody healthy, you have a little bit more money to play with in order to go get another piece. But you're obviously not going to find a piece to fill in for Kaprizov. So long-winded answer, word saladed up. I would like to see Kirill back before the regular season, but maybe just a week. I don't need to rush him back. I think, especially if the players in front can show that they can fill in, which is another question that we have coming up. That's the approach I would take. And I just, maybe make a small trade, but I don't know if you can. Do you have anything to add?
Not really.
Okay.
I think you said, I think I would like to see him back a little bit earlier than just 1 week. I don't know even how many games there are in the final week. But just to make a little bit more of an impact, depending on how standings are, how tight everything is, get back maybe a little earlier. But otherwise, I don't know. I don't really have anything else to add.
No, that's fair. Next question along those same lines from our friend Hockey in Loud Music. He wants to know, do we think anyone will step up in a significant way with Kirill out? Ogren, he asks.
I love me some Liam Ogren.
Yeah.
So, like to see more from Liam Ogren. Not that he hasn't been doing well. I've been pleased with him. I would like to just see more. I think Marco Rossi has been big. Want to see more from Matt Boldy. Mm-hmm. Continuing to be a thing. I would like and need to see more from Matt Boldy.
Matt Boldy, come on down. That's my guy. That's the guy that I need to definitely see more. I think Marco's held his own. And in general, and this comes to us from Joe Smith at The Athletic, that top line hasn't been good against the good teams in the West all season. You're seeing a lack of point production from Jules Eriksson, from Matt Boldy, from Matt Zuccarello, from Marco Rossi. So that also needs to change as a whole. Kirill or no Kirill, you need to be better against the teams that are above you in the standings right now. But I would say Matt Boldy, I think definitely, again, needs to find that rhythm, needs to find that consistency. I think Liam Ogren will. I think he's finding that confidence. I think he's been performing really well. He's still young, so I give him a little bit of a longer leash than a Boldy. And obviously Matt Zuccarello. Matt Zuccarello can take over and be that guy. Why not? Him and Bolds, and let's go.
Let's get Jewel back on the score sheet too, eh?
Yeah. Get that net front presence going, baby. That's all we need.
Get in people's faces.
Yes.
All right. Jay Lofgren. What do you two get more often? Asked out on a date or the generic girls don't know hockey?
I don't get as much girls don't know hockey. I'm in all honesty. Do you?
I don't get that either. I don't know. Maybe it's because maybe just because of the presence of women's hockey, people, I don't know. It's just different. It's not like football where people are like, oh,
yeah.
I don't know.
In football.
It's different with hockey. I don't get told. I don't know. There's some of you in the comments who sure like to say we don't. But outside of the comment section, I don't get it in real life.
Yeah, there's a few times. And actually, it's not on the show. Maybe it's because we're just not as out there. But once in a while on Judd's show, I'll get it. And it feels very much like it's because I'm a girl. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm I literally just repeated what Bill Guerin told me. I didn't. This is nothing.
I don't know.
new.
In all honesty, I feel like whenever I have conversations out in public, especially guys that I work with, they'll ask me questions about things going on. I don't know. I feel like I get people approaching me asking questions because they trust me as a source of information for them, or I get complimented more on my knowledge of the game. Again, it's literally just the comment sections.
The faceless people.
Exactly. Now, not to our very nice viewers, but the casuals who come. Why do they even listen? I don't know. Thank you for the metric, but
maybe it's because we're in Minnesota too, so people assume that everyone knows hockey here.
Maybe.
So that could be a part of it.
I don't know.
It's true.
Could be.
I got it once. I will never forget it. This was back God, it was probably the start of when I worked in the NHL and we were out at a bar and this guy was literally leaning across me to talk hockey with Mike and our buddy Kevin. And neither of that, like, Mike is a hockey fan. Kevin's a very casual fan. Like, he doesn't know anything. And the guy, and I kept trying to like interject with the answers because they didn't know the answers. And then finally Kevin was like, she literally works for the National Hockey League. Like, talk to her. She's trying to talk to you about it. Like, the guy was just a dick. He was a big St. Thomas Academy fan. Like, it was just a very bizarre. It was the only time where it was so, this man went out of his way to speak over me because how could I possibly contribute to the conversation?
Gotta love it.
Gotta love it. And that was a face-to-face. I was just like, I hate you. And our final question comes to us from Jen Gates. Photos. What's the one thing that you think could help spark the Wild back to a win streak?
I'm trying to think of which direction to take this. I don't know. Like, logically, I'm at a loss. Like, I don't know what to say logically.
I have
don't
no idea.
know. Maybe let's take like a Kevin Gorg approach, like be a little more superstitious. Like, what were these players eating and doing on the days when we were a top 5 team in the league?
Bring morning skates back to the X.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. Like, I don't know.
Try
Let's retrace our steps and just start repeating those same daily routines. Like, logically, I really don't know. I don't know why we've fallen off. I think maybe, get a little more superstitious.
I like that. And I apologize. I skipped over 2 good questions from our friend Dustin P. Jones. Number 1, is it crazy to consider keeping Rossi over Boldy if Bill Guerin needed to make a big move this summer and take a big swing? I like Rossi's upside, and he goes to the dirty areas, something a team always needs. Oh, and he's a center. Feel free to recklessly speculate. You said yourself you don't want to move Rossi, but now you're gunned ahead. It's Rossi or Boldy. What do you do?
I'd choose Rossi over Boldy. I've seen way
Wow.
more from Marco Rossi than I've seen from Matt Boldy this season. Rossi has been much more consistent in comparison to Matt Boldy. Like, yes, Matt Boldy has a big upside to him, but he's not consistent. So it's like some days I don't know what we're getting from him.
I go Bolds. Because that's what I think the team.
You've always been more partial to Matt Boldy. Always.
Yes. It's the American. It's the Team USA thing. I am so proud of where Marco Rossi has gone. I just, again, get this sense that the organization would choose Matt. I mean, logically go Boldy.
I mean, Guerin loves Matt Boldy.
Love Matt Boldy.
So, like, I get that too, but I personally would pick Rossi over Boldy.
Okay, I want other people to weigh in on that because I think that's a nice little hot button topic. Another really good question that I like from Dustin: what do the Wild do better, either on or off the ice, than other teams in the league that doesn't get enough credit or is not talked about enough?
I mean, I think off the ice, I think the Minnesota Wild as a whole unit, they seem like a really, really tight knit group. Now, I get a lot of teams are also like that, but I think the Wild especially. What?
So not Vancouver.
No. Or, yeah, not Vancouver.
Zing.
I don't know. I think, like, the camaraderie amongst the team, I think it's a healthy locker room. Like, I think the vibes are high. I think the guys also know how to have fun and pick each other back up, too, even during down periods. So I think that's one of the things off the ice that leads to on the ice that they do really well.
Yeah. It's hard to think of anything else. That culture, I think it really is. It's so cliche and it can kind of be so exhausting. But I remember Matthew Tkachuk talking about that this year when the Panthers were in town. Like, we love each other. That there is something to be said that's how you win a Stanley Cup is with your best friends, right? I mean, or even a state title or a national championship. Like, you look at the locker rooms of those guys and there's that camaraderie and that willingness to do whatever. No ego's bigger than the other. And I think that's something that Bill Guerin was so meticulous about. And it's evident. It's why a guy like Marc-Andre Fleury wanted to be here. You know, again, I want to reiterate how freaking special that is that we have the opportunity to see Marc-Andre Fleury in a Wild sweater at the tail end of his career where he can still perform, but just to have his presence with this team, something that he chose to do because of what that locker room is. I think that's got to be it. And yes, it's probably across the league, but I think the Minnesota Wild do it extra special. Because even when you get new guys that swing in, they are all quick to say, and it feels very authentic when they're like, I've never been in a room with the guys this close. I've never been in, with this or that.
I think a
yes.
big key factor too that I think people maybe more locally are like involved in like media know, but a lot of other people might not. Like a lot of that goes to like the Spurgeon family too, and Danny Spurgeon behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like everything I've heard, like not only does she orchestrate events to get like players over the holidays to come to their home for dinner and whatnot, but also like the way she like gets the wives and girlfriends together too. Like I don't know, I feel like the Spurgeon family unites the entire team.
Yeah.
Which, captain and captain's wife, they should do that, but I think like they just do an extraordinary job of it from what I've heard.
No, I would think so. I would say, and also off the ice, kind of to the point you said, they are very good with the media. And that's a shout out to the PR team of Jackson, Aaron, and Dylan as well. Like, I think it's very rare, and I get to see visiting PRs, and most are accommodating, but the Minnesota Wild go above and beyond to be accommodating, which I think is very good. So if you guys are listening, thank you, because we'd like Kirill Kaprizov on the podcast next. If you could accommodate that.
See what you did there.
Truthfully.
Clip
See
it
what I did there.
and send.
And go.
If we can get
all right, guys,
and Broads, maybe even together.
No. No, you know what? The only reason I want...
They don't have to do it alone. They can do it together.
It's double the boring.
Oh my God. The people want to know.
It'll be the shortest podcast in the history of Bardown Beauties.
Okay. Well, you know what? People,
but I want to make it happen.
I'm trying for all of you.
I want to make it happen just so I can sit back and be like, I told you so. I told you so.
I'll take it off the rails. We don't have to talk about hockey. You can talk about anything. I'll hit you rapid fire an entire half hour. I got a list.
The Jules Eriksson-ek responses. Oh yeah, that's cool.
No, I will give pointed questions. I will say,
yeah, that was a fun time.
This or this.
That was a fun time.
There's nothing to like. I promise you will leave that interview knowing way more about those two than you ever thought you wanted to know. Okay?
Lord help me. That's going to do it for this week's episode. Again, shout out to everybody who submitted questions. You guys rock. Love the engagement. Don't forget to drop in the comments. Answer some of your thoughts. Rossi or Boldy. Kirill Kaprizov. All that good stuff. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, like, share. All that. You guys are the best. Thank you to everybody who came out to TRs last week as well. We'll have another live show coming up here in February. Four Nations is coming up as well. We got some home games on tap. Always a good time. Shout out to SotaStick, Talk North, Royal Credit Union, Jim Beam, and Greenbelt. We'll catch you next week. Okay, bye.